Bored of watching women's football? Don't worry. These guys bring all the emotional drama you could ever ask for. Vini Jr, the best FIFA men's player for 2024, is also one of the most emotional players you will ever encounter. On and off the pitch, the Brazilian always shows a lot of emotion, whether it is happiness, anger, sadness, or frustration. He is one of Europe's most animated players but never lets his emotions hold him back. In fact, he uses it as motivation to keep him going. We've seen Vini cry due to racial abuse, and after he picked up an injury, we've seen him show anger and frustration when things aren't going his way. And we've also seen him show joy and excitement a lot of times. But whatever the case, Vini always channels his emotions into his football. Another really emotional Brazilian is Neymar Jr. The former Barcelona star is another player who laughs, cries, and always makes sure to live in the moment, whatever it is. We have seen Neymar shed tears after getting injured and after losing games. I mean, this guy was inconsolable after losing the 2020 Champions League final, despite already having a winner's medal in his cabinet. The Brazilian golden boy also broke into tears of joy when he won Brazil their first ever Olympic gold in men's football in 2016. And in 2022, he admitted to crying for 5 days straight after getting knocked out of the 2022 World Cup. The former Barcelona star is just a very emotional player. You know who else is? Mario Balotelli. If you're looking for a footballer who has publicly expressed all forms of emotion, look no further than Balotelli. If you're looking for sadness, he showed that after losing the final of the 2012 Euros. If you're looking for joy or excitement, you can see it when he scores a brilliant goal. If you're looking for pride, it is right there in his goal celebrations or in everything he says. If you're looking for anger, you can see it in his eyes when he gets into a fight and gets himself sent off. Whatever type of emotion you're looking for, you can find it in one version of Balotelli or another. Another formidable striker who wears his heart on his sleeve is Luis Suarez. Remember when he made that goal line clearance which saved Uruguay against Ghana at the 2010 World Cup? He showed a whole range of emotions in that short period. He showed desperation, which forced him to use his hand at that moment. Then, after he was sent off, he broke into tears on his way off the pitch. That sadness quickly turned into joy and elation after Asamoah Gyan's penalty crashed into the woodwork. Years later, after he helped Atletico Madrid win La Liga in his first year there, he was seen sitting on the pitch and crying while on a call with his family. The following year, he also cried when Uruguay failed to make it out of the group in his final World Cup outing. That right there is a man who is never scared to show emotion. And you can say the same for Sergio Aguero. When it comes to joy and happiness, the Argentinian is always front and center. Despite not being part of the squad that won the 2022 World Cup, he was one of the happiest people in the stadium that day and was leading the celebrations. On the other hand, he was one of the saddest footballers we had ever seen during the press conference where he announced his retirement from football. He had just moved to Barcelona a few months prior, but was forced to retire from football after a newly diagnosed heart condition. There were a lot of tears during that press conference, and it reminded us of someone. Yes, Lionel Messi. Even GOATs cry too, you know? When he was forced to say goodbye to Barcelona in 2021, he was an emotional wreck during his farewell press conference. Due to the global pandemic, he was unable to say goodbye to Camp Nou. You would imagine that would have been an even more emotional affair. And that was neither the first nor the last time Messi cried in public. He cried after losing the 2016 Copa America final and cried after being subbed off due to an injury in the 2024 Copa America final. And since we're talking about GOATs who cry, let's also talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. He does seem like a super macho guy, doesn't he? But he's actually very emotional. We've seen him cry on several occasions. After losing the 2004 Euros final, after a nasty injury forced him to leave the pitch early in the 2016 Euros final, after he got knocked out of the 2022 World Cup, and after missing a penalty in extra time against Slovenia at the 2024 Euros, you name it. Apart from immense sadness, Ronaldo has also shown frustration, excitement, joy, pride, and a range of other emotions. He really does wear his heart on his sleeve, this guy. And this video cannot be complete without the mention of son Heung Min. The South Korean is just a sweet guy. He's always the most excited guy before and after a Spurs game, and also the saddest one when things aren't going very well. son once cried after he found out he had accidentally injured an opponent. He sobbed so much in that game against Everton that he had to be consoled by his opponents. The South Korean captain is so emotional that he was seen crying tears of joy after South Korea beat Portugal with a last-minute winner to advance to the knockout rounds of the 2022 World Cup. Another very emotional footballer we must not go without talking about is Jordi Alba. He infamously cried at halftime during the game between Barcelona and Liverpool when the Reds pulled off an insane comeback. Interestingly, at halftime, Barcelona was still leading 3-1 on aggregate, but because he was at fault for that one goal that Barcelona conceded, it really got to him, and he shed tears. That right there shows how emotional he is. We'll now wrap up with the great Diego Maradona. I mean, what emotion didn't this man show? He showed real anger at the 1984 Copa del Rey final, causing a huge brawl right there on the pitch with the King of Spain watching. In 1990, after losing the World Cup final, he burst into tears on the pitch, despite winning Argentina the World Cup only 4 years prior. And then we can't forget his infamous celebration from the 1994 World Cup game against Greece, which showed so much emotion that he had to be tested for drugs. Even after he retired, Maradona continued to wear his heart on his sleeve. The way he celebrated Messi and Rojo's goals against Nigeria from the stands at the 2018 World Cup was a peak of joy and excitement. This man really gave us everything. But who would you say is the single most emotional football player you've ever watched? Tell us in the comments.